Hey folks, No Spec Ops Monkey here. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about satellite phones. Now, if you've ever been in a situation where comms are down, you know very quickly how critical it can be to reach out and touch someone in the event of an emergency. Whether you're popping smoke for an exfil, in a remote location where there is no cell phone coverage, or in a natural disaster, maybe even off the grid. Well, not that far off the grid. But having a satellite phone in your quiver can be a real game changer. And one of the beauties about a satellite phone is that it can also be used without giving up your precise location, unlike a cell phone. All you need is an open sky, and the satellites do the rest. Now, for my satellite phone needs, I use a satellite phone store, as they have several options as well as lots of different plans available to fit your needs. Plus, they have a ton of accessories like Faraday pouches, hard cases, etc. They also have an exclusive offer for the Monkey Nation. Just go to sat123.com/monkeywerx via the link in the description box below, or call 619-399-3800 and tell them Monkey sent you.
ID. All right, now we got my mic working. Sorry about that, a little delay there when I started. So welcome folks, it's Friday. It's going to be your sit rep for for another week we just got through. So hey, if you guys are interested in the satellite phones, just keep in mind too, one thing I forgot to add to that is that there is a 4 to 6 week lead time. So if you're thinking about them for Christmas, you're going to have to probably make some adjustments there. So, okay. Now, that said, let's hop over here without further ado to the map. Again, this is going to be, it's kind of a light Friday, but this is starting out over here on our sky glass. And we're sitting up at about, oh man, last I looked, it was 300 and, let me just double check. Well, we're showing 528, but I know that's not completely accurate because we do have these massed aircraft in there. As you can see, right up the middle of the United States, we got a lot of trainers. This is all trainer activity in here. These pink birds are going to be ones that don't want to be seen and tracked. And I'm just kind of hop down here on the side and see if we got any high movers. All right, not seeing them. Let me jump over here. I just want to see what our quantities are looking like as we go through this. Now, H60s are only sitting at 7, which is pretty low. C-17s are at 7. Let me see what the tankers are doing here. 135s. Looking to be just kind of average. We were really high 2 days ago, but looks like that has kind of fizzled out a little bit as we get into this. So let's see. C-130 is only 6 up, so that's not too shabby. One Spybird looks like. And then where is my tankers? I only showed 2 tankers up, which is can't be right. But there is that, all right. And then let me clear that off. Let me hop over here just to see what we got. Any of our Spybirds up. Not seeing. See if this one it'll take me right to it. Let's see. It's not doing that, so that looks like it's headed out off the coast. All right, so we were going to exit out of this for a second. Let's get back over here to our flat map and just see what's going on. Again, you can see we got a couple heavy movers in the middle here. We do have some that are of interest. We're going to go into those here in just a second. But let me jump over here real fast. I want to point out something here on the marine traffic. We were talking about it the other day. Notice since Wednesday, we were looking, this was pretty thinned out. It is now chock full. These are boats that are anchored, waiting to get into port. And so the $540 billion that Knucklehead spent, flashbang, put into the pockets of our supply chain companies is doing absolutely nothing. In fact, this looks worse than it has been in quite some time. And so that is the map currently. Now, if you get in closer to here, there's probably close to, there's over 100 out there. So you're talking probably over 200,000 cargo containers that are in that general vicinity. And so definitely not doing anything to make this better. In fact, I'd say they've made it worse. And let me tell you, this is fixable. They just don't want to fix it, okay? So they can do all the lip service they want. I will tell you, the only ones that are getting any skids greased are going to be the folks that are benefiting from this, okay? But us, the general population, the supply chain is broken intentionally, and they just choose not to fix it properly, okay? Okay, now let me hop over here. I do want to point something out real fast. yesterday I got something. This came in 2 hours ago, but they're saying that Russia is actually promising it won't invade Ukraine, whatever. But they had a rush of about 90 plus thousand build up at the border overnight, and so this is going to be eyes on, because this is here it is. Last week about 90,000. There you go. Okay, so in this past week, and it is now Friday, so. That is a heck of a buildup. That's more than they had before. And so keep your eyes on that area, because I think it's going to heat up like a junkie spoon. All right. Now let's get over to what really doesn't matter. Oh, wait, actually, this looks pretty interesting too. Started to get over to flashbang. That doesn't matter. But looks like we've got a handful on the map here, about 8 or 9, it's looking like. So 8 to be exact. This is volcanic activity, and these things tend to disrupt aviation. And so you can see this one in Russia has been going gangbusters. This is a new one in Alaska that is spewing now. This one is a normal. We typically see that. These down in Central and South America are kind of normal as well. The one in Mexico is, it's not fire, it's fuego, sorry. And then La Palma is just nonstop. So ash producers, and that's what interrupts our air travel. So, okay, now over to what doesn't matter. This is going to be flashbang in his schedule today. Looks like he is meeting with leaders to talk about the Asian Pacific issues at hand. I will tell you, we dodged a bullet. Today was the day, or actually they were supposed to default on the Evergrande, which was going to just send the markets into turmoil, and they somehow came up with enough money to cover that note. But they're not out of the woods yet. They still have another $366 million that have to be paid by the end of the year, and that's just interest, overdue interest for that matter. That's a lot of money. So we'll see. I think there are people out there that have a lot of interest in this. If this collapses, it's going to send the whole world into a pretty big dip on the recession side. So, okay, now over here again, back to flashbang. Let's see what he's got going on. This is like a den of thieves, man, every time I look at it. All right, so he's headed to Camp David. We'll get over here to the TFR. You can see that that matches the TFR that's up. Now, I don't know what this is over here in Winston-Salem. Hazards. And looks like they've got an environmental firefighting effort going on there in that general area. And Warner Robins is going to be our regular, that's a security. I didn't say regular, but that's been a security last couple times we checked. Air show up here. Still got some space ops going on. Florida, down South Florida and Stewart. Air show. Border stuff is back up. And that is kind of it, really. Everything else is kind of normal on there. So, all right, let's get over to our flight trackers, the ones that are just kind of catching our interest here today. So, landed 45 minutes ago. This is not C101. This is somebody else using a hex code that is actually tied to them. Well, actually, this one is C101. This is actually, okay, up in Newport News to D.C. But let me get back over to this. This one was not, landed 18 hours ago. I just want to point out this. That definitely is not a Gulfstream. This is a helicopter out in Sacramento. I don't know what is going on over here in Fossum Lake, but that is kind of an interesting search pattern. All right. So I don't know if you got, I don't know, maybe there's maybe this is a beach area and there's people, they're just doing some perving. I don't know. Ain't no telling. I don't trust their government, so it doesn't doesn't bode well for them anytime they do anything. It looks a little bit suspicious. So, all right, now that's one we were looking at. Now this is the other. It's going to be same 40, and I was watching this earlier. This is actually one of your spy birds, and you're going to just notice it is rolled out of Greenville, Texas today, but it is currently up here north. This is Lexington, Kentucky, south of Indiana, and Indianapolis. But you can see it is doing some spying right there. Running routes, all right, figure 8, again, R135. And then this is another one I wanted to just show you guys. I thought it was interesting. I caught it this morning. It was rolling out of Turkey and doing some recon over Turkey, and it's since come back. But let me get over to the one that I was actually tracking. This is actually a NATO bird, and it was, that's not it either. Keep coming. Where'd you go? All right, doesn't want to show me now. So, interesting that it is not. All right. There is today, and it is not doing it now. So, all right. Well, it has since disappeared on what it was showing. It was actually running circles out here, and it's gone. So, NATO evidently has wiped some of its flight data, and so we can't track it. So, but that one is running routes. It's actually a Sentry, an E3 Sentry that was out there doing it. Now, this is NATO 07. It was doing the same thing. Here's one. Okay, good. At least this one is still there. But this was running out of Germany. It just went out, did a little bit of a route. When they do that tight circle like that, they're usually grabbing data of some sort. Okay, even though it's a Sentry and you think you're thinking it's air traffic control, not the case. These guys have the ability to do the same thing as the other spy planes. So there is that. Okay, but the other one in Turkey was doing the same thing. It's just interesting how it just gone. So, all right. Now, this is going to be irrelevant. I don't care about that one. I pulled that up, and it's an old flight. So here's one of the things I want to show you before we delve into the Texas piece and look at what's going on the borders and where all the poppies and coconuts and bananas are going, is this one right here. This happened on the 21st of this year, a couple weeks ago. I didn't know it, and it actually happened in Tarrant County, Texas. 115 people got arrested. What I found interesting, and this is what is going to blow your mind, as I got down in here, look at the meat of this. I'm just going to highlight it and we'll talk about it for a brief second. 45,000 immigrant children lost. Like, they have lost track. They brought them in, they received them, and they can't find them. They don't have any idea. And they're saying that this could now be a potential human trafficking that's created by our government by the thousands. So go figure that out. How do you lose 45,000 kids that come into your system? 70 midnight flights. What's going on? I mean, this to me is they're legalizing human trafficking. They're bringing these kids in. The fact that they are losing them just blows my mind. It's one thing if you said, we lost 4,500 or something, right? That's still a lot. 45,000. Let that number sink in. That's insane. Absolutely insane. So I don't know how you get away with that. I don't know, it's incredible. And you wonder why we have 115 arrested in Texas for human trafficking, another 110, 112 in Florida for human trafficking, hundreds of people being arrested for human trafficking. And it's because you're just pumping them into our country under the midnight moon. So, all right. Now, speaking of that, as we get into this, the Migrant Caravan makes its way through Mexico despite injuries, dengue fever outbreak. So it's still moving. What I'm finding out is that this thing is now broken up. There are groups of 2,000, there's groups of 4,500, and then there's another group of 10,000, and they're all just kind of staggered. So they're not going to all hit the border at the exact same time, but they're going to come in a wave. And they'll probably all be there at the same time once they get there. So, but they're saying that this is, still on track. So it's moving right along. Okay. So let's take a look at the locations where these folks are headed. Now, this is going to be Biggs Army Airfield. Now, this is actually a flight coming in from Fort Worth Alliance. This is Omni Air. It's a 767-300. And from there, it rolled out and it went to Indianapolis International up in Indiana, which could be why we have an R-135 running routes up there in Indiana, okay? Because I think they have pretty much shown their hand that they haven't screened these people properly just by the fact that they are running intel over these locations like mad right now, okay? The other one here, we got an Eastern Airlines coming in from Miami that's due in at 12:45, actually en route right now as we speak. No telling if it's empty, if it's bringing people or taking them back. So we'll have to watch that one, okay? But that is going to be big. So let me just see if we missed anything while we were. We only have that one A20, which is Allegiant Air, came in from Punta Gorda. Let me see on departures. We've got anything else? Just curious. So Wednesday was the last. That one's going to Indianapolis, and then that one went to Lauderdale. So, okay. That's going to be Biggs Army Airfield. Now, here's the other thing, too. Keep in mind, I'm showing you, these are all military installations. just goes to tie to that piece where we lost 45,000 kids. You got them pumping through military installations. This isn't like, just some local Joe, sheriff that's putting kids in and we're making sure that they get to a foster home kind of thing. This is your government doing this. Think about that. Just let that sink in. This is your government doing all of this. These are military installations they're bringing these people into. It's criminal. I'm telling you, this is just straight up criminal activity in your face, bold, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it. And that's how they look at it. Okay. All right. Here is an Omni Air flight live. I was just tracking these earlier. This one's coming out of looks like Seattle, Washington, headed over to Okinawa. Now, I did have some flights earlier today. Let me get over here to the board real fast. I'm going to show you these from the Omni perspective. We had one coming in from Shannon, Ireland to Topeka, Kansas. More than likely, that flight was probably bringing in some Afghanis, okay, because we have them spread out all over the place, okay. And then this other one here is coming in to Tampa, and those are 767-300s. So just so you know, this hasn't ended, and they just keep bringing them in, okay, and they're just, nobody's talking about it, all right. Now, what'll happen is about 3 or 4 months from now, everybody will be like, man, they continue to bring Afghanis into our country, and the news media will be talking about it, but you've known about it because we've been talking about it now for a couple months, right? So ever since they had the whole fiasco take place. And so just remember, you saw it here, because this is, I'm telling you right now, these folks are still coming, and they're just peppering them in. Nobody even sees them because nobody's paying attention. All right, now this is going to be actually Cherry Point, North Carolina. Add this to our new location. I noticed this when I started tracking the Sierra Pacific flights. They're now putting people at Cherry Point, okay? And so they're running them out of here to Tucson. You can see the flight comes in from March Air Force Base, Riverside, California, over to Tucson, to the departure, should I say. Comes into Cherry Point, then sends them to Tucson. Those are the spa tail numbers, actually. 709 and 709S, I think, and 708S are the end numbers. But yeah, so you're using, you've got, these are commercial aircraft coming out of March, coming out of Cherry Point, coming out of Biggs, Hunter Army Airfield. So it's absolutely incredible. And here's that flight right here coming out of Cherry Point, North Carolina, en route headed to Tucson, Arizona. Again, Tucson is another one of our camps. Okay. Same thing here. This one's just following it. So that's 2 plane loads of people coming out of Cherry Point headed. And this is not the first one. These are happening almost daily now. Okay. Okay. So there is that. Now let's get over here to Laughlin. This is going to be in Del Rio. Now this is the military base, Laughlin Air Force Base. It's a pretty big trainer location, but it's not the international airport there. All right, but let me just double check here. This is in 407TX. This is one of the birds we watch from time to time. Looks like it's coming out of San Antonio, headed along the border right here, going into Laughlin. And so that's a little Bell 407, and it's operated by Air Methods Corp. is the owner. So that's a lease, because that N407TX is typically going to be Texas Department of Transportation. All right, or the Sheriff's Department, okay? So, but let's look at Laughlin closely. We do have a Swift Air that arrived from Alexandria. More than likely, that plane's coming inbound to take some folks out, but it looks like it's going back and forth, which is really interesting. Remember, Alexandria is a 72-hour holding facility, and so that is, that's where they process them, supposedly out of the country. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it looks to be doing round robins between Del Rio, which is not, like I said, this is Laughlin Air Force Base, taking people to and from a place where they're actually holding people, a prison, so to speak, back and forth. Okay. So let that sink in. It's just, I'm shocked by this. This is absolutely crazy that we are allowing this illegals onto our military installations. That makes no sense. So, okay, now this is going to be our camber flights. We'll get through these. Let's see. These actually not showing too much on the board right now. We do have one up currently, 767-300. We've got another one that's not showing on here. Surprise, surprise. Destination unknown. As always, these are U.S. Transportation Command. Okay, so these are commercial aircraft that are chartered under our military. And this one's headed out of Bahrain, and this one's headed out of Frankfurt to where we don't know. Okay. So just keep an eye on those. These guys have been moving poppies back and forth to the U.S., so just pay attention, okay? All right, and then let's get over here. This is going to be our Swift Airs. Now, you can see we still have them because we're early enough in the day. If you just go south of the border, there's, 4 or 5 aircraft right there that are still coming out of the south. So you've got them going from border town to border town here. You've got Mexico to San Antonio, El Salvador to Miami, and then this one's Mexico to Alexandria, which is the holding facility. And then Laughlin, let's see here, that one's going up to, so that's a border town flight headed to Louisville, Kentucky. All right, so that is probably taking folks to Louisville. That was this morning, actually departure at 9:05 a.m., arriving at 2:22, so that's what we're still seeing on the board. So a lot of activity. These are more than likely, all of these are moving illegals into our country, not necessarily out, okay? So smoking gun right there, all right? So they talk about, closing down the border, but just look, they're not even going to the border in some cases, right? They're going straight in. This is Arizona to Louisville, but like this one, coming out of Mexico, headed to San Antonio, El Salvador to Miami, all right, bypassing it. Okay, so you put all the people you want on the border, they're just going to fly right over your head. All right. Now, let's get over here to Guantanamo Bay real fast because it just wouldn't be a sit rep if I didn't cover this location. And so this is going to be today. You can see the board's kind of busy, but this is our normal Friday. Going to be Sun Country, the Uber coming out of Jacksonville. That's got it's picking up legal Eagles, and then we've got our N301AZ. That's just one of our Tuesday Friday flights, little hopper jet, and then we've got this one coming out of Norfolk. This is just Amerijet International 767-300, and it's just doing a quick turn. So it's just picking folks up, bringing them back. Now, this one is not. This is out of sequence, but remember we've got this trial going on for Shaka Khan all month, and so. This is United Airlines flight coming in from Joint Base Andrews, a.k.a. the Brown Zone, headed in. It's probably picking up, if I had to guess, media, etc., bringing them back home. So they've been here probably all week covering the trial. All right, so kind of normal stuff there. All right, let me get back over to the main screen here. Let's just touch base and see if hopefully it'll work. It has been hanging up a lot lately, so... but let me see here. We do have a couple E6s that are out. That one's running. Now remember, these are flying airborne command centers. Okay. We have one there. We've got another one right here in the middle of the U.S., which is kind of an interesting thing. Came out of Oklahoma City. That's kind of where it normally is anyway. And then headed northbound. So that is kind of, let me just see. We do have some heavies coming in, the DC area. Got this little Gulfstream GL5. Now, who is that operated by? That's U.S. military. All right. Little whitetail. And then this one's headed south, Prime 7. That's a C-17 headed southbound. And not seeing, I don't know where that's headed. Let me see what the altitude is. 35,000 feet. No telling. It's probably headed down to South America, I had to guess. One leaving Hawaii right now. And then let's just take a quick look at Europe to see if we got anything, drones, anything else. Now, keep in mind, the Ukraine, this border right here, this is where all the buildup is taking place, Soviet buildup on Ukraine. But these are A400s that are going to be coming out. That one is run by, looks like Turkey. Just double check. Yeah, it's a Turkish A400. And this is going to be United Kingdom A400. And then we've got a Reach coming out of the Middle East, and then one looks like it's coming inbound out of kind of northern Africa continent. So, okay. All right. So listen, that is going to do it for today on our sit rep. Stay frosty out there. This stuff is, I like I said, I'm in shock as much as you are over this whole immigration piece. What is behind it, I don't know. The fact that we're missing 45,000 kids ought to be alarming to everybody, knowing that our government is behind it. So what can you say? All right, well, listen, that's going to do it for today. You guys be safe out there. Have a safe weekend. God bless. Monkey out.
Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworxus.com.